It's the Two Strange.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Strange Men with Carl and Tom, the crime-fighting duo.
We have got through a intro without you doing some weird asinine.
I'm still doing it,
crazy
mate.
bit.
I'm still doing it.
Oh, okay.
Pow!
This is just
pow, pow, pow.
Okay.
Da-da-da-da-da. Crime-fighting duo.
This is more
Two Strange
palatable.
Men.
This might finally be the episode where I can show my mum.
No.
Okay, no.
Fuck.
just in case you thought we were a podcast that you can listen to as your crying baby goes to sleep. Fuck off with that.
Well, no, you can listen to this when your crying baby goes to sleep because your crying baby does not know what the word fuck means.
That's true.
But
he will if he keeps listening to this podcast.
And it's actually based on like Mesopotamian folklore. Is if your first word that you say as a child is the word fuck, then that is good luck. Fuck. Luck.
That's
Rhymes.
crazy how you say that with such confidence, and really makes me question the research that you put in front of me.
Yeah.
every week.
I say it with so much confidence because it's pretty much my job now to talk about
bullshit
facts
people
that aren't true. Yeah. I mean, I've made a podcast about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What is interesting is, without even realizing it, we've already started to talk about the topic today.
Have we?
Yeah. Well, we've started to talk about sleeping babies. That
Sleeping
was not
babies.
the segue that I planned, but you can't get away from sleep.
You can't get away from sleep. Well, my body tries to, but yeah.
But we need it.
We need it.
And we've sort of been talking about the idea of nightmares and sleep, haven't we?
Yeah, and there's so much to talk about in that cultural milieu. You know, the idea of sleep is super, super important. And so we've had a chance to just do a few more episodes, not necessarily on sleep, but we're really focusing on dreams now.
Yes.
Gonna sort of hyper focus on that specific subject, give you some strange topics.
Because although we were talking about sleep, we kind of segued into dreams a lot, because that's the tangible thing from sleep, isn't it? That's the thing we remember.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I suppose when you go, oh, how did you sleep? You immediately almost go, yeah, but I had a crazy dream.
Yeah.
Because the state of sleep is not, it doesn't arouse much conversation, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Unless you're getting none of it. Are you overslept?
Yeah.
The actual sleep itself. The dreams are the meat and potatoes of it, right? You don't go, oh, did you eat last night? You go, what did you eat? Same thing with sleep, right? Not that you went to sleep. What did you dream?
But also, just the idea of you, if you're getting a good night's sleep, you're often not going to be remembering those dreams, because you're in heavy, and it's the dreams that stand out. It's the dreams where you have, as you're waking or going to sleep, those are the ones that end up being the most memorable ones that you end up remembering. I remember a time when I couldn't remember my dreams. That's not now because I'm really struggling with my sleep. Yeah. But yeah, just the idea that you're a bit boring because you can't remember your dreams is well, no, you're just
well, I'm
well rested.
I'm about to predict the future that I will get into a little spat with my wife.
Okay.
For telling you this, but do you know what, Heather? I don't care.
Oh,
so
you just name checked your wife.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Her name's Heather.
Okay.
Hello. For the longest time, I mean, I've been with my wife for a long time. I mean, not as long as you've been with your wife, but quite over a decade.
Yeah.
And there was genuinely a time where I would go and talk about my dreams, and we've discussed my dreams that are wild, right? And she started to think, maybe I'm a robot. Maybe, this whole idea of robots don't sleep, right? Because she doesn't remember her dreams.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Under any circumstances.
Does she ever complain about not getting enough sleep?
Yeah, but she still doesn't remember them.
Okay.
And she's kind of am I made wrong? So we had this big long discussion. I was like, no, people are just different, right? I mean, that's not how I started. I was like, yeah, you're definitely a robot. You're an android, because I'm a little wind-up merchant.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting that in the same kind of like, paradigm, same household, you got one person whose dreams are super overactive, and I remember almost every facet of dreams, like every night, and arguably, I get more sleep than her. She's up with our son a lot more than I am.
Oh, wow.
Once I'm in.
Yeah.
Whereas she gets broken sleep all the time and doesn't remember any of her dreams. So if we're looking at it from a context with that, we're kind of the opposite of what you would expect there.
Yeah, she needs to go down the Christmas Carol route and have a little knob of cheese.
Yeah.
So she can say to a demon or something like that, there's more gravy than grave about you.
She does like cheese.
Oh, yeah.
And she loves a good pun.
Yeah, have some cheese before going to bed. That always helps me.
Okay. Do you want to address her? Do you want to tell her?
Heather, about 10 minutes before you go to bed, cut yourself a nice slice of Wensleydale. Okay, chow on that. Wensleydale, yeah.
That's oddly specific.
I mean, like, if
that's the trippy shit.
I mean, you can go for some carefully if you wish, but it's up to you. Or just a strong, mature cheddar. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend inviting a stinking bishop into your bed.
Yeah. In general.
Just in general, or eating the cheese, yeah. So, because, you're going to perhaps have nightmares rather than dreams.
None of that weak cheddar shit, right? It's strong or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's mature or not.
Yeah. And
we don't let minors into our bed.
Some other cheese-related advice is if you're going to open a camembert, you need to finish it then and there.
Yes. That's probably the most sensible piece of advice we've ever given on the podcast.
Don't ever put it back in your fridge.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that will taint everything. And I'm sick of it. Honestly. I'm not going to name check my wife, okay? But I'm sick of it, okay? Yeah. Stop putting that cheese back in, all right? It's one and done.
Everything tastes like camembert.
Yeah, exactly. Camembert, then and there, all right?
Yeah. That should be their slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... let's go back to dreams.
We could probably have a whole episode on fucking cheese, couldn't we?
We could definitely have a episode on like things that piss us off. You ever seen that show Room 101?
Mate, I could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And half the subjects would be you
well,
prick.
That's not very nice. So, but I'm going to let it go because I'm in a dreamlike state.
Jesus. Okay. All right. I'll take advantage.
Yeah. Oh.
Blah, 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 blah.
Good. Yeah. So it didn't take long before we got right back to the normal silliness that pervades this very fact-based podcast.
You'll get a couple of facts and you'll be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you little bitch.
That's right. That's not you, Heather. That's not you, Heather. That's just general.
Yeah,
it's just general.
That's not a household I want to live in.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I come back to that.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about Freud.
Okay.
Yeah. Just in general.
Yeah, sounds good.
What do you think to him?
Yeah. Freud, I am then after this going to be talking about Jung, and I always preferred Jung, to be honest with you. But Jung kind of like always felt like a bit of an understudy to Freud to a certain extent, particularly in the impact on early psychoanalysis, I guess. This is all just very obvious, I guess. You can pick that up by watching a film by David Cronenberg, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I was always interested more in Jung.
Just as the outside looking in, when we talk about Freudian theory and we talk about Jung, particularly like Jung archetypes and stuff, I feel like Jung's is a bit more preserved, a bit more used in modern day.
I
think a lot of Freud's theories have sort of either evolved into something else, or kind of been
if you think of the cliche aspects of Freud's theories and the cliched aspects of Jung's theories, I think Freud always comes across as more objective. Yeah. Well, you must want to have sex with your mother. And that's what everyone thinks of. And so they're quite dismissive of that. Whereas Jung, it's very subjective. It's like, well, it could be this, because it's like that. Or, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have to have both types in the world, right? Someone who's, a rock is a rock. And another going, well, you see it as a rock, but maybe it's a soft rock.
That you put in your mouth that's attached to another person's body.
Okay.
Maybe a cigar is not a cigar.
I feel like if you were Freud's neighbour, you'd be like, hey.
He'd never go to the office. He'd just be like studying me the whole time.
Yeah.
It's fascinating what the things that he's coming out with. He's not even Dutch. I don't know what I'm doing.
Brilliant accent. I don't know where in the globe it came from, but amazing. So we could have an episode on Freud, and maybe we will one day, right?
Maybe we will.
But
We'll invite our mothers on.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I won't.
Yeah.
So, professional. So, I want to focus on the dream theory aspect of that. So this idea of like wish fulfillment, which is still in popular culture, this idea that we dream what we want. We set goals for ourselves, and nightmares can sometimes be the non-acquisition of those dreams.
Yeah.
What dream work is, and the difference between manifest content and latent content. I'm teasing you with some little like subject headings.
Okay.
But we'll go through it. So Freud, Sigmund to his mate. So I
old Siggy.
Siggy. Yeah, I was literally going to say Siggy. So Siggy regarded. Because of Siggy, I've just got Siggy Butt Brain. Do you remember that that internet meme that was almost Beavis and Butthead?
No. I'm just thinking of Ziggy from what is it, Quantum Leap? But that really dates me.
Yeah, you can tell we're of different cultural ages.
Yeah.
We consumed different media on the internet.
Yeah.
So Sigmund Freud regarded dreams as like a royal road into the unconscious. So this is a term that will come up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a prestigious kind of gateway
and
into
direct
your unconscious
access.
mind.
I would assume that analogy of a royal road is like it's kept clear for people to just quickly go through.
So instead of it kind of being waded through of loads of other kind of, here's what your brain is kind of doing in the background, and you've got access to this during dream sleep. Because obviously we've got the unconscious brain, and then you've got the conscious brain that we're aware of, right?
Yeah.
And dreams break down that barrier. Again, it's this idea of the separate states.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that it's the door into the unconscious world. According to Freud, dreams are fundamentally disguised with this idea of wish fulfillments, of like what we want for ourselves, whether this be culturally or whether this be, socially. The unconscious mind takes repressed wishes and desires, often desires that were born from childhood, because a lot of Freudian theory talks about this idea of growth through childhood, and childhood being that early kind of stigma of what you see yourself and what you represent yourself. And also, again, very Freudian, what we consider to be socially unacceptable, but desire.
Okay.
Fucking your mum, basically.
Yeah, he's just really big on that.
Yeah. I think he just fancied his mum, but that's been said, hasn't it? That's old rhetoric.
Yeah.
But stuff that as a culture that we would kind of downplay, but as kind of animalistic brains, we'd be like, I want to do that, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I think a common one for modern society is this idea of monogamy, being polyamorous, right? Because our brains. You can argue our brains tell us that we should reproduce, particularly as men, quite often without partners. But we live in a monogamous society. Yeah. So a lot of us, like me and you, are heavily committed to our wives. Yeah. And we're in single relationships. Freud may argue that actually that's not the default.
Yeah, absolutely. And subconsciously you're dreaming, if you have like a raunchy dream about a co-worker or even some magical made up person, as we'll talk about with Jung, that's potentially what's going on. Yeah.
And this weaves into he calls them dream content.
Yeah.
So what you're kind of seeing is these wish fulfillments and desires, but you don't see them manifested in the way that it's not like, oh, I really fancy that blonde girl at work.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just dream of having sex with the blonde girl.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be that simple, because your unconscious mind doesn't unpack things, Conant's theory, that way. Because such kind of like latent concepts might be disturbing or anxiety provoking for you if presented in that way. So, like, for example, I'm thinking about the hot blonde girl at work. Just to clarify, we don't have any hot blonde girls at work. Okay, just to clarify.
All of the blonde girls at work now are very upset.
That I had. We're a department of men. Okay?
Yeah, fair enough. Department of Men.
Yeah.
It's equal to children of men.
Men. But the hot blonde guy at work.
Yeah,
we got your number.
Oh, absolutely.
So because a lot of us are in monogamous relationships, it is awkward as a dream to fantasize about somebody else. So it'll kind of be dressed up and worked out in a different way. So the dreaming mind develops dream work to transform what your brain wants.
Okay.
Through what's called condensation. So condensation, I'm just going to read this, is a single dream images often stand for several associations or memories.
Right.
So instead of kind of having like, that one person and kind of unfolding, that person might become a kind of image larger for more complex things. So I'm thinking of the blonde woman from work, but actually it represents all women and my like latent sexual arousal of those.
But could it be like, say for example, I am having a dream where I am with a colleague and we are doing a certain task in a dream, like eating a massive meal at a buffet or something like that. Could that like then represent like us wanting to indulge, or at least one of us wanting to indulge in some sort of relationship with that person on a different level?
You could definitely interpret it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, quite often it's not that overt, right? I talked about a really simple thing of like fancying a coworker and then having a sex dream. Yeah. Maybe it's like just seeing that coworker in your dream all the time, and you're going on this great grand adventure you can't go on with anyone else. It doesn't have to be sexual in nature to imply sex is happening, right?
I mean, I've had working relationships with people, and then they have appeared in my dream, and we've been just kind of like doing the job that we do, but in like a different context in the past. I then mentioned this to that person, and it got really awkward because they're like, "Oh, you're dreaming about it." It's like, it's not sexual at all. Like, this is not a problem. Like, why are you making this a problem? But
this kind of goes on to the second part of how these concepts transform, and that's displacement.
Right.
So displacement is putting emotional significance in one thought or object into the latent content, to something more innocuous. So taking something really, really important and quite vast that you might be anxious about and putting it in something meaningless.
Right, okay.
So those two kind of tandems, folding complex things into one image or one kind of state of being, and also putting something of importance into something else, works to kind of transform it into something that your brain would kind of go, okay. So, for example, are we doing this in conscious or unconscious thought? Is this in our dreams, or is this afterwards when we're processing it?
Okay, this is all in our dreams.
Yeah. So, so this is all happening on the royal road to unconsciousness.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we then start to touch on the idea of symbolization and like secondary revision, making the dream somewhat coherent as a narrator. So taking all of those concepts and then making some sort of story that connects those concepts together.
Yeah.
And that's why quite a lot of our dreams are really kind of vivid and strange and but there's usually, I started here and then I ended up here and suddenly I have no underpants on.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of narrative forming, and whether that happens during or whether that happens for us to make sense of it afterwards, who knows?
God, it's so fascinating just to think about the career that like people like Freud and Jung had, where they're essentially they act almost like modern day sort of like counselors or social workers, but like it's for rich people, I guess, that or people that are so mad that they're worth studying, have a chance to just talk to them and like come to conclusions. So they're like hearing their dreams, and then they're making these sort of like scientific conclusions based on what's going on in their real life as opposed to that dream, and then making these sort of conclusions. And so they've gone through this process of listening to so many of these stories and these accounts and things like that with the dreams, and then talking them just generally as a person, offering that like psychoanalysis and stuff like that, so that they've got like a background of information on these people, and then they're forming these conclusions based on that. It's fantastic, to be honest with you, when you think about it as a career.
And to kind of go
like, talking about this with other people, talking with other psychoanalytical like people, psychoanalysts. That's the word. I find it really fascinating.
And they kind of package this up, don't they? Like their theories package up their conversations and their thoughts and musings to the next psychoanalyst, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And Freud did this a lot when he theorized stuff. He tried to distinguish the differences so that it was packageable and it was teachable.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Freud and Jung and people like them are still within the public consciousness, because they were quite savvy teachers, to be honest.
Yeah.
They understood that their theories needed to make sense to the layman.
Yeah.
To some extent. I'm not sure I fully understand, but it's definitely more palatable than like other theories.
But I think like because they're trying to package it in a way that then translates as a guidebook for other psychoanalysts and stuff like that. That objectivity of Freud, I think, like it's like held him back because we talk often about like how like voices and dreams and things like that can be interpreted differently based on culture and cultural perspective and stuff like that. And these are just a couple of guys in Austria or whatever. They're not necessarily going to have like an explicit worldview. And I just wonder how much of their actual theories and stuff like that is just modular, or how much of it is just focused on the idea of like, well, this is how a Western person would interpret this, that, and the other. So you want to have sex with your mother?
Yeah. So Westerners all want to have sex with their mothers.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why they have sexually explicit mother pageants that are shown all across Europe and America.
Mother pageants? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Who's got the sexiest mother? That.
What? What?
Maybe this is a dream I've had, but I guess it's a dream. All right,
Okay.
just carry on.
I've never heard of this. But anyway, what a good episode. So, to help us
Did that tickle you?
whore.
I'm not a whore. What was that?
It was me like breathing in, but also came out as an insult.
It came out as a New Jersey accent.
Yeah.
Whore.
Whore, you bloody whore.
Yeah.
So to help us digest this, Freud distinguished dream content in two specific ways. So the manifest content, which is what we remember upon waking. So you were talking about, the process of this.
Yeah.
What we remember upon waking, the images, the storylines, the events, and we try and connect them together. And then the latent content, which is the hidden symbolic meaning. So you remember this, you remember being chased by a vampire, and then the vampire kind of like, you run out of the school gate that you've not attended for 15 years. I'm definitely not talking about a dream that I've had.
Do you have this dream? It's too specific.
So, that's what I remember on waking. There's hidden symbolic meaning could be as much of like, and I had this as I was going back into education.
Yeah, okay.
I had a very bad start to my education.
Yeah.
Like a very, very bad start.
Okay.
You probably know this about me, but the viewers probably don't. That so I have quite a lot of conditions and stuff. I have cerebral palsy, and it's a form of brain damage, and it comes with like lots of other different things. And my schooling was shite. Like it was really bad.
It wasn't catered for that.
Not at all. And my mum really fought hard to get me into mainstream. And I think I struggled with that because there's nobody like me, right? So really hard start at school. So me and academia did not see eye to eye. Until, funnily enough, what I do for a living is because of that. And so this idea of when I stepped away from university, I had a fairly good university experience, but I stepped away from university. I was kind of done with all that.
Yeah.
as I was transitioning to the idea that I might start wanting to teach and retrain as a teacher, I started to have these dreams about, a vampire. Don't know why it's a vampire. Maybe, maybe you could say the education system sucked the life out of me. I don't know. But this vampire was chasing me, and I was trying to get out of my old school gate. It was a long, winding road, and and if I could just get past that gate, and get away from the blood-sucking vampire, everything would be okay.
He's just a symbolic monster, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I, if I'm really thinking about it and I'm applying this, and maybe the hidden meaning was that if I could just escape the past of my own education, I could flourish. In kind of my new education, and I did. I think anyway. So that's the idea of latent content. It all having some form of meaning and within your unconscious brain. In analysis, free association to each element of the manifest content is used to uncover the latent content. So you break down what you remember seeing, and you try and apply the idea of like condensation. Okay, well, what does this one thing mean? Is there three separate things? And then the idea of displacement. You're seeing this, but actually what is important? And then you use that manifest content to try and understand the latent content. Like what we just did with my kind of thing. But, like most of these, heavily subjective, right? Because I've said what I think that dream is. You might go, I think it's just because you're scared of vampires, mate. So,
I think it's just a memory, and you're actually attacked by some sort of PDF file at school, and that's all just coming to the surface now, mate. Yeah. Good luck. Your head's gonna explode soon. Exploding head syndrome. Yeah, you're gonna have that to deal with.
Which we established doesn't mean that your head explodes.
Emotionally, mentally, you can have an episode, and it's gonna be here live on the podcast.
I'll just cry, and you'll be like,
it's all right, mate.
I'm going to tell you about crying. So Freud saw the potential in this dreams as playing a crucial part in the what is coined as the psychic economy.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say economy. That's not a real word. You can see why I didn't do very well in school.
Do better at spelling and speaking, Tom.
It's vacuum. I mean Dracula. They allow repressed wishes to a way to express themselves, so that the psyche can maintain a kind of balance. So they're really important to keeping you kind of mentally healthy.
Yeah.
What we kind of need to discuss though with this, and probably a bit of Jung too, right, is that these theories were developed in a pre-REM sleep discovery age. So they didn't know about REM sleep. So some of the later psychological discoveries have challenged some of these ideas.
Yeah.
And in some cases have refined these ideas into like sharper theories.
Yeah.
But many of the psychoanalytical practitioners and theories still use Freud's framework in interpreting dreams to this very day. So this idea of the manifest content and the latent content to be able to unpick dreams still is used by practitioners today.
Yeah.
Modern research critiques how to validate interpretations is the main one. The problem with subjective bias, which again I gave you my analysis, but like that's just my thoughts and opinions, right? How do we verify? And coming back to something you said earlier about this idea of cultural specific symbolic meaning changes things.
Yeah.
In one culture, like when we talked about schizophrenia, hearing God telling you to do something was a negative connotation, telling you to kill someone. Whereas in other cultures, it was to get you back to feeling mentally well. Hey,
this is God. Don't kill anyone. I just wanted to say you're great. Have a good day.
Why don't you go pick some flowers today?
Yeah.
So similar kind of thing happening, very different interpretation. So that is like one of the main critiques there. But the idea that much of the dream involves emotional processing, the repression of stuff that sits on your unconscious, this idea of wishes and fears remains part of the framework to this day. Freud saw many dream symbols as sexual or aggressive. Hidden content. Some symbols reoccur cross-culturally in his writing. So you were talking about this idea that they were isolated in this kind of part of the world. But he did try and expand that out to a wider group.
Okay.
But obviously, you're right. Most people that Freud would have had access to were middle class, and their dreams and worries and fears are going to be very different to the proletariats of the time. For example, the downtrodden poor.
That's it.
As I imagine Freud might
Fucking dream! I ain't got time to dream.
Yeah.
All I've got time for is to come home and wipe all the coal shit off my skin.
I thought you were going to say, and beat me fucking wife.
Actually, I look after my wife. That's a working class stereotype you're putting on me, sunshine.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Now I'm going to turn into a vampire. And fuck you up, son.
Why are you Noel Fielding?
Well, I mean, he's a working class vampire, isn't he? Let's face it.
Yeah, to be fair. And Freud's theory emphasizes this idea, again, I'm coming back to the beginning, of early childhood and the repressed desires, both culturally, neurologically, and cognitive perspectives that offer different views, but also complementary views depending on where you are. So this idea we were talking about it being dreams being different in different places, that is accounted for by a change in cultural ideas.
Do you want a complementary view?
Yes, please.
I like your mustache.
Thanks, it's getting cut soon.
I want you to braid it. Don't cut it.
It's getting
braid
absolutely insane. It's just unwieldy.
Are you done with Freud now?
I'm never done with Freud.
Oh, you're never done with Freud?
Yes, I'm done with Freud.
You've been talking about Freud for quite a while.
Yeah.
I fear that we're not necessarily going to be able to get into anything. We've got some other subjects here that are fantastic, like the idea of divination and neuroimaging. But we might end up keeping that for another session. We'll see how that goes.
Should we go to our boy Jung and keep the gravy train?
We'll absolutely talk about Carl Gustav Jung.
I did not know he was Gustav.
Yeah, he's
Cool.
namesake of me, Carl with a C. Yeah, the
Really?
best way of spelling.
Is that true, or is that your kind of wish fulfillment going in?
No, absolutely not. Carl Gustav Jung. So he offered essentially an alternate to Freud, an alternative, and they were working very closely together, exchanging ideas and things like that. They had a very close working relationship. But they're often at odds with each other in their theories, I'm led to believe. So rather than providing this idea that Freud has, the idea of repressing sexual aggressive impulses, Jung proposed that the psyche includes not only the personal unconscious, but also a collective unconscious. Okay? So a consciousness that we as a people explore, and so if you were to put it into that Freudian idea, those issues with culture and stuff like that, that is then accounted for, incorporated into Jung's ideas about the collective unconscious. So a lot of what we're going to be seeing here about Freud's ideas about about Jung's ideas about dreams are going to incorporate that idea of massive subjectivity and the global or countrywide consciousness that we all sort of feed into. We are a collective unconscious alongside our own.
The Borg.
Yeah, absolutely. And to a certain extent, we are like the biological version of the Borg in a way. If anyone doesn't know Star Trek, the Borg were a sort of like a cybernetic race of people that
They're like hive mind.
Hive mind, like bees. Yeah. They all had the same thoughts at the same time. So kind of like a little bit like that, but in a very small way. Essentially, you'll have these cultural impacts that will then. Manipulate your mind, and there's no way to get around that. It's just how things are. You see an apple and you see the same things that other people see, like me and Tom see, you say the same symbols within that. But if you had a completely different cultural background, you might be reaching for completely different symbols, with that in mind. And your apple might not be the apple, it might be a pomegranate. Do you know what I mean? It all depends on where you are in the world, etc., and all sorts of things. But anyway, just that idea of a big unconscious that we all share. Yeah. This collective unconscious is structured, or at least shaped by archetypes. Okay. So universal forms or patterns shared amongst humans. Yeah. And in dreams, in Jung's view, they are the primary pathway into the archetypal, into that exploration of mythic symbols that transcend personal biography. Yeah, so transcend that idea of what your own personal thoughts and ideas are from a collective point of view. You are exploring your own personal ideas through these archetypal moments and things like that. So, a very obvious one to just lean into is that monster that was, chasing after you. You've decided to latch onto that idea of a vampire, you know, something that is, what's the word, sucking out your life force and something like that. That itself, that idea of a monster that will slowly kill you in your sleep or something like that. It's quite nefarious. It's not something that's just going to yum, 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 eat you up. There's all sorts of elements to take from that, and so think about how that can then be displayed in different topics that sort of affect you in your personal life. A vampire could easily be a symbol for a certain degenerative illness or something like that, or
I mean, this is sort of similar to semiotics, isn't it? Like, it's the similar sort of
absolutely
thing where we all read signs and attribute things to them. It's sort of like an extension of semiotics, right?
I think these theories definitely feed into each other. That idea of what is symbolic, what is actually like signified when you look at something, etc. So yeah, you are right there. One special concept within this theory is the idea of big dreams, and that dreams can carry
Big dreams.
Big dreams. That's right.
The biggest dream.
Dude, I had a big dream.
I don't know why, but whenever anyone goes big anything, I become a wrestler and I was like, the biggest dream.
Big dreams. It's a dream that can carry strong archetypal imagery or motif, often during major life transitions. Okay, so I feel like you described one there.
Yeah.
I struggle to find any.
Basically, fuck off. This makes more sense.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it's like it's left very subjective, so it makes more sense to us. Because it's modular and it can stand up because it was being a bit vague. Yeah. So I struggle to find any of these dreams within my own like backstory. I find it quite annoying, to be honest with you, because you've been able to explain one, and I just can't. It's annoying. So I'm kind of in Heather's camp there, where it's a little bit disappointing that I'm not necessarily remembering these dreams to a certain extent.
I wouldn't say that it's a pro, because I have such vivid dreams, and I remember so much about them, and I know we're going to talk about lucid dreaming at some point, and we'll kind of get there. But they stay with you sometimes. Like I wouldn't say haunting, but they certainly they fuck me up a bit.
I definitely do agree with that. So, like, if there is a particular dream, and I do have them, I just can't remember them off the top of my head now. But if I have a dream that really sort of like stays with you, is memorable, you end up going, oh God, I'm going to have to like interpret this and analyze this, because that was like pretty powerful. And that was a bit freaky. Am I a psychopath? Do you know what I mean? Like you end up thinking about that, and you've got the stress of life on top of that as well. It's like, I don't need this shit, brain. Okay, like I didn't choose to like watch a horror film, but you've just put one in my head.
What are you trying to tell me here?
Yeah, exactly. I don't need this. Like, keep it in the unconscious. All right?
And why do I keep turning up to work naked and nobody says anything in my dreams?
Well, Tom,
and why am I aware that I'm naked and it's weird? And nobody's saying anything.
Tom, it's not always in your dream that you do that.
Okay. I get confused.
Okay, all right. Next time I'll try and wake you up. Anyway, okay, so yeah, big dreams. That idea of major life transitions. So like going through adolescence, your midlife crisis, or near death, can provide these big dreams. They can not merely reflect daily concerns, but they seem to tap into a broader mythic layer of meaning. So like images like dragons, great snakes, vampires, as you mentioned, the ideas of labyrinths or treasure quests and things like that. And they can act as a guidepost for your own individual development or individuation. Yeah, it helps the dreamer to integrate fragmented parts of the self and move towards a wholeness. Yeah. So it's like we talked about this previously, about the idea of like your own personal therapy and having that through these dreams and stuff like that. These big dreams really sort of like are signposted to those moments of like, hard therapy, I guess, So yeah, in this context, Jungian analysis involves attending to images in the dream, considering what archetypes are active. So, for example, the most evil part of humankind is the shadow. It's I've been playing Persona 4, and this whole idea of like how a character can receive their new sort of like creature, or do all their fighting and stuff like that, is them essentially accepting that they have an evil part to them, or a part that they would otherwise want to just bury and say, no, I'm not like that, I'm not selfish, I'm not this.
And Persona is really interesting because it basically is like an RPG based on people's dream states and nightmares and stuff, isn't it? And that dream world is changed through, I mean, you've not played Persona 5, but they do that beautifully. And all of the antagonists are just normal people with like really deep seated like evil that overspills into the real world. And I guess it's the same sort of concept. Isn't it?
So that's their shadow. So that's essentially, that's one of those Jungian archetypes. Is that imagine that scene in Star Wars, I believe it's Return of the Jedi, where what's the word? Yoda puts together a little event for Luke Skywalker, and they go into this. He goes into a cave.
Like streamers, you're a Jedi. Little hat.
Yeah, that's it. But he goes into a cave, and who does he see there in the cave? It's a vision of Darth Vader. He takes the mask off. It's him. It's Luke Skywalker under the mask. I am Darth Vader.
The duality of man.
Yeah. But that's that's a perfect example of like the shadow being used in culture and stuff like that. And then you've got like the archetypal version of a man and archetypal version of a woman, often being incorporated within dreams, like that anima or the animus. I've had romantic trysts with faceless women in my dreams.
Oh, bloody hell.
And that's
no,
never
no
saw their face. Never saw their face.
Okay.
Never saw. Okay, so like in my youth, and I guess this is one of those sort of dreams. In my youth, when I'm at a period of time where I am particularly interested in having a relationship with a woman that will then lead on to having children and things like that. I was very focused on that idea. I didn't want to stay single. I wanted to have a family and stuff like that. I would have whole lives played out in my dreams with celebrity women.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but like the whole thing, like not just like
all
a
the
date.
way up to like an upending where one of them dies and the other one's
I
left.
think they kind of played out like Up. Yeah, Up, as you said. Yeah. Like that, pretty much, like a whole montage, and that would be my dream. And like I remember one of them being Britney Spears, and I don't remember being that attracted to Britney Spears. Okay, she was a bit like too clean for me, I guess. Like hokey sort of thing.
Too much. She wasn't a punk rocker.
No, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I remember having a complete full dream about her and the whole shebang of a relationship when I was like 17, I guess, at the time. And
Yeah.
I guess like, you know, that, and I've had similar dreams, maybe of smaller periods and stuff with like faceless women and stuff like that. I guess, you know, like in adolescence, I can definitely at least pick out that moment and having that sort of like archetypal anima sort of dream, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, there's also other elements as well. You know, I mentioned previously about the idea of like speaking to dead loved ones and having whole conversations with them and stuff like that. You know, that might form a good basis for that wish fulfillment and being able to actually speak to someone who's
the
dead.
idea of resolving as well, I guess.
But also that idea of like, you know, the wise old man and the wise old woman, you know, if you think about it this way. So for example, my granddad, all I would do when I'd go around his house is watch TV, and we'd watch TV together. And it would be just continuous, me and him watching TV. And he absolutely loved watching TV. He would watch TV a hell of a lot of time. One would say that he ruined his retirement around the idea of watching TV. But think about that generation, like TV would have been such a novel thing for them.
Yeah.
He ended up getting all of the foreign channels and things like that. And maybe I've mentioned it before. Like he had like an absolute giant satellite in his garden. Like it actually ruined his lawn and everything like that because it was just this huge thing there.
So he got everything under the sun.
Absolutely. It looked like his back garden was like commandeered by NASA or something like that. It was like crazy, this size of this thing. And so like, you know, we would watch like Norwegian channels that had all of the cool American stuff on it that we wouldn't get on the BBC and stuff. All sorts of things, like all sorts of like films and stuff like that as well. Loads of stuff. Now, if we think about the dreams that I've had recently and stuff, I'm a lecturer in media. You know, like all I've pretty much done with my adult life is explore filmmaking and the teaching of film and the analysing of film and TV and other such things like that. So, like, in effect, in our archetypal view of the world, as a protagonist, that is my adventure, is like television, and that sounds really fucking lame and it's sad, but
I
that
get
is
what you mean though.
Do you know what I mean?
Your trajectory is kind of mapped out.
Yeah. In a way, like, you know, you've got the idea of like the power of myth and Joseph Campbell and stuff like that, and that idea of all stories like leading towards like basic myth archetypes and stuff like that. He's using Jung throughout his ideas and stuff like that. You've got the idea of the quest giver, you know, that wise old man.
Yeah.
If I'm having a conversation with my granddad, you know, not that he had any sort of expertise on filmmaking or anything like that, what you probably have is that idea in my mind of like, even on a subconscious level, it's like, it's partly because of you that I'm here. You know, so it's almost like he's given me a mythical sword or something like that. Here you go. All of this fucking wasting time watching TV. This is the way that you can feed your family.
yeah. It all circles back, doesn't it? And dreams are a great way of like fantasizing the non-fantasable, I guess.
Yeah. So if we explore how such dreams relate not only to an individual psyche, but also to the universal human concerns, it means essentially that the symbolic meaning is not fixed, and it can arise in dialogue between, say, a Jung or Freud as analyst and then patient, and often with attention to myths and cultural symbols, it can then be applied to like personal context and stuff, as we've sort of discovered. So whilst Freud was like doing that sort of stuff, Jung was doing that sort of stuff, like considering like, okay, well, how does this then play out into the like the collective unconscious? As we've gone into this, a couple of details to point out there. So, like, big dreams often emerge during crisis or threshold moments when the ego is destabilized. Ego, again, we could probably have a whole episode dedicated to these elements of psychoanalysis and stuff like that. The collective unconscious includes archetypes like the self, the shadow, the anima and animus, which recur in dreams as figures, symbols, or stories. And Jung believed that mythic imagery, dragons, the underworld, water, labyrinth, are externalizations of internal psychic forces. And in cultures, myths often mirror dream symbols, suggesting that humans across time have shared this symbolism. And then Jung uses this as a comparative myth to validate those archetypes. Yeah. And there is certain techniques played out in Jungian therapy. So, for example, active imagination, where you have a dialogue with dream figures. Yeah, and amplification as well, where you compare symbols in myth and culture, and also providing a dream journal as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's Jung and that's Freud, and we've kind of like looked at,
Freud and Jung, the
crime-fighting duo.
That would be
two strange men in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slap their faces on us. Who knows the difference?
Yeah. Well, they don't know our faces, do they? At this point,
That's very true.
They could probably
be
find
anybody.
Them. They could
we
probably
could be in their dreams.
very easily find our faces.
Disembodied.
They could. Our audience could find our faces, print out loads and loads of copies of our faces, cut the eyes out, and draw on like red markers or with blood or things like that what they want to do to us as they create this shrine that the cops
Why is this so oddly specific?
When the cops break down their door and they see an empty house, but then in the back room there's this shrine, they'll go, "My God. Call the central. They're in trouble."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Something
then,
like that.
yeah, because that's how the police work here
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
UK, yeah.
My God, it might be too late. They might have eaten their faces already.
But they wouldn't have, because we're actually what we don't tell our listeners is we're super powered beef boys.
Absolutely, yeah. You're never going to find us on Cloud City because you'd have to have the ability to fly, and you don't. Okay?
You don't. You scrub.
Yeah. We basically just hang out entirely in the dreamscape.
I've actually been levitating. Do we have some time for a little antidote?
Yeah, go on. Antidote.
Yeah.
What, to this poison? It's too late. It's all poison. No. Anecdote. Yeah, carry on.
So, I went through a stage where I kind of had...
levitate?
Yeah.
Jesus.
No. Well, I thought I was awake and I could levitate.
Yeah.
But I was just dreaming.
Oh, really?
But for about 5 years, I fully thought I had the ability to levitate.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Turns out it was all bollocks. I mean, I've been trying.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
But my brain was telling me that I was awake and I was able to levitate. I knew fundamentally I wasn't able to levitate. But my brain would be like, "Nah, bro, you got this."
Oh, that's cool.
Spoiler alert, I can't levitate.
I'm just glad that you weren't convinced that you could fly, because that would be very tragic, and we wouldn't have this podcast. That's worked as a nice segue into our next episode, I guess, when we're going to be talking about dreams a bit more, go into the science and culture of it.
Yeah,
and you're going to be also talking about lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming, which it kind of connects to that point. So if you're listening to this not kind of on the dot, then, and you're listening to this in the future, in a couple of weeks' time, you might want to just skip over to the next episode, because I'm going to be talking about my levitating badass powers next.
Nice. Good stuff. Okay, and just to make you aware, this wasn't a dream. You have been listening to us the entire time. Unless
you fell asleep and we became part of your dream.
Yeah, so
be cool.
It would be really interesting if I was like a talking pig and you were like a blue elephant or something like that, and we we floating
Why am I an elephant?
through the cosmos.
That feels like
I call myself a pig, okay? I'd rather be an elephant than a pig, okay? But yeah, if that's the case, guys, then it's going to get a bit weird when this automatically cuts to whatever it is you listen to next. So just be aware
then
of that.
Then that sexy blonde woman's going to turn up.
That's it. She's got no face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. See you later.
See you later, guys. Bye.